Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another LinkedIn Live Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. We are streaming this to YouTube as well. So if you want to watch some of the old replays and you don't want to scroll through my timeline, go to YouTube, type Fail Coach. You'll find the channel. While you're there, share, like, subscribe. But yeah, let's dive in. So today we have a really special guest. Stephen Hoffman, aka Captain Hoff. So, Stephen, it's a huge pleasure to have you here. We're going to be talking about the startup environment and the secrets to surviving a startup. But would you mind just giving us a quick introduction about yourself?
Sure, Miha. It's fantastic to be here. So I have been doing startups my entire life. And I did 3 venture funded startups in Silicon Valley, 2 bootstrap startups, and then I started Founders Space, which is a global startup incubator and accelerator. And right now we have over 50 partners in 22 countries. I like to travel all over the world and work with entrepreneurs. And I'm also an author. So I published 3 books so far. Make Elephants Fly, which is all about the process of radical innovation. Surviving a Startup, which teaches entrepreneurs everything they need to know to break through. And The 5 Forces That Change Everything. And that is about how technology like AI, CRISPR, gene editing, nanotechnology, space technology are going to transform the world and our lives.
Beautiful introduction, very quick and to the point. I mean, we know you have plenty of experience being keynote speaker and doing interviews, and you wrote a few books and so on. So it's really lovely to have such guests on the LinkedIn Live. So, Stephen, where should we begin? I mean, we've talked a lot about different phases of startups on this LinkedIn Live already, but the title that you suggested is The Secret to Surviving a Startup. What does that mean to you? So, what we will be talking about today?
So, what it means to me is how do you become an indestructible entrepreneur? An entrepreneur that can survive all the hardships you have to go through when you're doing a startup. And I've done it. So I've had startups that were incredibly successful. And then I had startups that were really, really tough, where things just didn't go right. And I coach, like you do, Miha, a lot of startups. And I see the problems they're running into. And I'll tell you a few things, just a few tips right now of how you can survive a startup. Number one, it's counterintuitive, but most startups fail not because the entrepreneur changes ideas too often, but because the entrepreneur sticks with the same idea too long when it's not working. And this is because, none of us want to fail. Like, we all want to succeed. And we equate what we're working on, the project, the idea, with our identity. We think if that idea that we came up with fails, if we let it fail, then we're a failure. Well, that's not true. So as a fail coach, I think you know this. The idea can fail, but you can still be successful. And you have many, many, many times in your life to try. So I tell entrepreneurs, if it isn't working, the first sign, if you clearly see it's not working, you got to come up with something else. You got to abandon that. You got to let it fail if you're going to be successful.
Well, we entrepreneurs, we tend to get very emotional about our babies. And I saw that very significantly, when Corona hit, when many companies had to pivot in a completely different direction, change business model, change niches, change industries. And it was very hard for a majority of them to, and they were just hoping and wishing and praying that, the whole thing will just go away very quickly. And they were just going deeper and deeper and deeper. And the deeper they went, the harder it was to see. And then when they did understand that they need to shift, they already used all the resources, and then the inevitable very often happens. So
You're absolutely right, especially when things are changing rapidly, with the pandemic came up, but it could be anything. Your whole market could just change overnight because of new technology or trends and things like that. You need to shift right away. And I'll give you an example. There is a travel site out there. They were doing travel, which was a great business until the epidemic started. And then literally their revenue dropped like almost to zero. They had to lay off tons of employees. It looked like, they had venture funding, luckily, because so they had some buffer there, but it looked like, they had no business. For a while, they didn't. What they did, though, was really smart. They innovated. They started going to customers, and they had begun to develop software that could allow employers to track their travel expenses. But since nobody was traveling, this wasn't that useful. What they did is they figured out, wow, this could track all sorts of expenses. We've actually innovated and built a way of expense tracking that could be applied far beyond travel. So they put their team, what remained of their team, on developing that further and broadening the scope. And it turned out to be a big hit. And that's, that quick decision to refocus is what saved that company.
Stephen, I want to stop you there just for a second, because you said something tremendously impactful, and maybe the audience, people watching this, will not get it right away. You said that they went and talked to the customers, having that deep relationship, customer experience, proactive, is so important. And what most entrepreneurs do is they close themselves. They want to think it by themselves, or maybe with the team that they have at hand, but very, very rarely they go out there and talk to people they already have trust with, people who bought in the past, people who are their clients, who have other needs, other problems that are worth solving. And if you maintain that relationship, but this is just like, I'm always saying that trust is the most valuable currency in the world. And we work so hard to create it. We can lose it so quickly. But when you have that trust, when you have that network of people who trust you, who buy from you, you will never be hungry. There will always be something. Maybe they don't need this, they don't need to travel, but they have other things. And it's just so important and so often overlooked. That's why I really wanted to emphasize this point, because it was just absolutely spot on.
I tell entrepreneurs this: if your business is in trouble, if you've suddenly, you've developed something and then it just didn't take off, or you actually were making money and then it starts to plateau and maybe even starts to dip, as soon as you get in this situation, coming up with your own ideas, really hard, like in a vacuum. Like, what do I think I should do? Like, where should I go? Ideas don't come out of thin air. Ideas come from the real world. So the first thing you should be doing is going out into the real world. And Miha, as you mentioned, what relationships do you have? If you have existing customers, the ideas are there. You just don't know them. And what you need to do is go to your customers, and instead of trying to sell them something or get them to buy more of your services or whatever to keep you alive, you should listen to them. Ask them questions. Where are the pain points? What aren't you getting done? What things, what outcomes do you want in your business that we could help you achieve? I have a rule, and it's basically, if you can provide more value to your customers than anyone else, not only will you not lose those customers to competitors, but they will give you more and more and more business, and you will attract more customers. It's all about understanding their business, because their business is your business. Like, if you know their business inside and out, then you know what to give them that can help them ultimately and help you. It's creating that virtuous ecosystem.
I like, my mind is just racing. who I need to send this recording to for them to watch, because yes, like this is like really solid gold, what you just explained. But Stephen, let's go a little bit back. You mentioned, you fail and you bounce back, and you fail and you fail and you fail, and you have some successes along the way. But I know it happened to me, and I'm sure it happened. Well, maybe it happened to you in the past, in the beginnings, when you go through a few failures, and then you start feeling like a failure. I still remember those moments after that huge crash in 2009. I literally felt that this is it. Like, life was beautiful until that moment, and this is the new reality. It will never change again. It will just go downwards. And how can we not go there? Or if we are there, how can we bounce back and not look at ourselves as failures?
So, what defines a great entrepreneur is not that they have failed, but how they recover from failure, how they get back in the game, as you were saying, Miha, like you did with your business. I had it true. The same thing happened to me. Not exactly the same as you, but a very similar path. My first business was really successful. I was a software developer. I developed games. They took off. It was really profitable. I did my second business. In the first business, I bootstrapped, so all the money just came to me. So I was doing well. The second business, I actually raised venture capital, went out, and at the beginning, we were incredibly successful. We became the largest interactive TV platform in the world. We had customers like NBC, Viacom's, MTV, History Channel, A&E, Warner Brothers, Turner Broadcasting, you name it, they were on our platform. We were making tons of money. All of a sudden, we even had buyout offers from public companies, which we turned down. Like, we were on top of the world. All of a sudden, the dot-com bubble burst. This was the first big internet implosion. And literally, it happened right at the time when we needed to raise more capital. And right at that moment, all our customers cut their services. Like, they literally told us, you can do it for free, but we're not paying you. That was brutal. That was brutal. How did I bounce back? Like, it hit me hard because I was CEO of this company. Well, I will tell you, I bounced back by throwing myself into another project. Like, literally, I didn't waste time. I didn't sit around feeling sorry for myself. I analyzed the situation. I understood, wow, the dot-com thing, it happened. I couldn't control that. We couldn't foresee that happening in the way it happened to such a degree. And there was very little we could have done except for perhaps sell our company earlier, but we were growing like crazy and our investors wanted to hold on. They thought we can double, triple our valuation in no time. Why should we sell? So, but what you have to do, and when you're in those moments, a lot of times you can't think clearly. You can't see clearly. It feels like the end of the world. And I felt like this at the beginning. I was just like, oh my God, I'm a failure. I couldn't do this. Like, I should never be an entrepreneur again. I should just go and get a corporate job. I should do something else. I was thinking that. And then I listened to myself and I said, you are programming your own brain. You are limiting your options. You are telling yourself that you are a failure and you could never do this again and that you should never do this again. And I go, if you listen to yourself, that's exactly what you'll be. You'll be a failure who never tried again.
Stephen, how old were you then when that happened?
I was young. I was in my 20s. I was young, not too far out of college. And this
How
was
the hell did you have such healthy mindset at such a young age? Was it like something from your because I mean, very similar thing happened to me. I was 28, 29 at that time, 2000 and no, I was 2009, I was 31. So a few years older than when that happened to you. And I was just completely crushed, and I went down the rabbit hole and hamster wheel and all the wheels, and just
honestly,
emotions.
Miha, your situation was worse. Like, you had a huge personal debt, you owed a lot of money, it was even worse. So mine, fortunately, it was a corporation. It wasn't, I lost some of my personal money, but I wasn't facing bankruptcy with these massive debts.
Okay.
So I didn't have that intense, but I did have the feeling of failure. Like I failed, like this company did not achieve the dream. It was my baby. It died. I could have sold out for huge amounts of money if I had just taken the offer earlier, So you could, the key is you can beat yourself up all you want, but is it going to be productive? Are you going to get anywhere with that by saying yes? Yeah, you're going to feel really bad beating yourself up, and maybe some of it is true. We all make mistakes. We're human. There's always things we can't predict. You have to give yourself a break. Life is a crazy ride. We're all along for this crazy ride. We can control certain things. We can't control other things. Like there is totally out of our control. And, we have to separate what we can control and what we can't control. And you also have to remember, nobody's perfect. Like all of us, we're going to make mistakes. We can't see the full picture. We don't have all the data.
Yes.
We don't have the experience of the past. And this is what I like to do. And this is kind of my philosophy of life. We write our own story. Are you going to write a story where the protagonist is a failure and never recovers? Like, is that the story you want to write for your life and live it out? Or can you simply change the story, change the narrative, tell yourself, wow, all the great novels and movies I've seen, the protagonist hits a low point. It seems impossible. Everything is coming down around them, but they keep going, no matter how hard it is, they keep going. Could I be that person? Can I do that? And if you can do that, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're the author of your life. You're the author of your story. There's always another, if you're dead, then you can't rewrite your story. Maybe in another life, if you're reborn or something like that. But if you're still kicking, if you're still alive, if you have any ability to get on your feet again, you can rewrite your life. It's just up to you which direction you go.
Yeah. And we are our own biggest bottleneck or enemy when we don't let ourselves do that. My dear friend Danny Levine, he's always talking about that a trash man. So when you're mindful and you catch yourself that you are telling yourself stories that are not supporting you, that are not pushing you, and you're not growing, you write them out and you just let the trash man take them away, and deal with that, and then rewrite and write new stories that are empowering yourself.
Yes, because honestly, reality in a big part is what we make it. We live in our heads, like we're trapped in our heads. And our whole society is a society of stories. It tells us, the stories we hear growing up from in the media, from our friends, from our parents. Those are stories that define what success is. You can buy into those stories of what success is, or you have the power, and most people don't realize this, to actually redefine the whole narrative, redefine what success is. Like everybody says now, you have to be a gazillionaire out there. You have to be one of these unicorn billionaires and, start a company and be, a Silicon Valley superstar to be successful. That isn't the case. That is just one type of success. There's so many different types of success in your life that you could be if you wanted to be. And you shouldn't let other people write your story. Like make your story unique. And that includes allowing yourself to achieve things that you really want to achieve that are maybe outside the mainstream, what everybody else is trying to do or what everybody else thinks is successful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Stephen, what are some other secrets to surviving a startup? We started with 2 now. So let's move forward.
So when you're starting as a startup, another thing I like to say is the idea doesn't matter. Everybody's fixated. I have to have the brilliant idea, that brilliant idea that's going to make everything change. Well, doing the idea for your startup is really only the starting point. And most companies out there, honestly, that are successful, their original idea isn't what made them successful. They started in one direction, and then they figure out it's not working. And then they along the way, they discover something, and that's what brings them the success. Now, I'll give you an example. I write about this in my first book, Make Elephants Fly, which is all about, how you get your big idea off the ground. And in there, I tell the story of YouTube. A lot of people don't know this, but YouTube started out as a video dating site. Video dating. Well, we all know today it doesn't work, but they didn't know back then. So they tried video dating and they were failing miserably. But what they discovered along the way was they wanted to share a video, a personal video with their friends. And there was no easy way to share it. But they had this video dating site. So they said, oh, well, let's use our site, upload the video, and we'll just share the link. Very simple idea. They weren't trying to be the biggest broadcast network in the world. They had no clue that that was their future. But they shared this link, and it was so easy. They said, wow, other people would want to do this. And they actually started to enable link sharing of videos. And then link sharing of videos, as we all know, people wanted a simple way to do this. And that's how YouTube took off. So they didn't have that plan from the beginning. And you shouldn't obsess with the idea at the beginning, because look, Google actually pivoted when they were doing it. Slack was a game. They started as a game when a game that again was failing. And then they found out, well, our engineers have this internal communication system they hacked together for direct messaging. What if we made this a product? All of these, when you're doing your startup, the thing that's going to define whether you're successful or not is not that original idea. It's the team you put around it. So I tell people, like, if you have an amazing team, you're going to hit a brick wall, you're going to bang your head, and then you're going to figure out, wow, it wasn't this way we were supposed to go. It was another way. And you're going to try another thing and another thing and another thing. And eventually, if you have the right team, you're going to break through. So with a startup, there are two things I want you to do. Number one, at the beginning, spend 80% of your time finding the most incredible people you can work with. If you do that, you are 80% of the way to success. There's just 20% more. The other 20% of your time, don't go out building products. Don't go out trying to raise money. Don't go out. Those things come later, getting attention with the press. What you need to do is go into the real world and find a pent-up pockets of demand for something that doesn't exist right now. So with the YouTube case, there was this huge, and they didn't identify it when they were doing at the beginning, when they were doing the dating site, but there was this huge demand for how can we easily share videos online? They literally tapped into that. And like an oil gusher, it exploded and propelled their business, into unicorn status, and they were acquired by Google. If you are starting your business, you are best off taking this amazing team of people that are really smart and really have different abilities and going into the real world and start sinking those wells like you're an oil wildcatter, hoping to hit a gusher. And don't bet anything on an idea. The idea is just sinking the well. It may hit nothing. It may there may be no oil down there. But when you hit the gusher, you will know it because the demand will drive it. And only when the demand is driving your business, and there's a lot of it, should you go out and raise capital? Should you go out and build out your full product? All of those things come later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm trying, as you're speaking, I'm trying to think, because with you, we can just talk for the next couple of days and make this the longest LinkedIn live ever. So I'm trying to figure out which direction I should ask next. Is it more early stage? Is it more going from early stage to some funding? Is it maybe some exit planning? Maybe I want to hear your opinion. I mean, your take on, often I get asked, should I know that I want to go for an exit when I start the business? So that's one question that I often get. And then just what's the process from the moment you decide to the moment you really are ready to exit? So maybe if you want to tackle those two.
So there's two types of businesses that you can build. One is a lifestyle business. And that's what we call it in Silicon Valley. That provides you with a great lifestyle. You don't raise capital. You're not really interested in an exit. And these businesses can be brilliant. I mean, they can be perfect for people. You have more control because you don't necessarily have to bring on outside investors and partners, which can be a real hassle for running your business. And and change your business in ways that you might not want to change. So if you want to keep control of your business, you want all that money coming directly to you and you can decide where it goes. It could all go into your pocket. Really good choice. If, on the other hand, you are in a business that tends to involve technology, that tends to be scalable, that a competitor could come in and really, in today's world with technology and scalable businesses, it's a winner take all world. The winner is going to boom. It's not like a consulting business. It's not like running a family restaurant. These type of businesses, the company that gains the momentum first gets the venture capital. They push everybody else out of the way. So I know somebody who he had an idea for a startup. It was called Rise, and Rise was really LinkedIn before LinkedIn. And he was doing incredibly well because the demand was there. Like, it was the first kind of business social network. And he was doing I was like amazed. But he didn't have, I don't think, the team around him to execute fully. And he never took in venture capital. He ran it as a lifestyle business. And you know what? It just went away. And LinkedIn took over the market. So because they went out there, they figured it all out. They raised the capital. They dominated. So if your business is a truly scalable business, meaning a business that can grow exponentially, and there's a big market out there, then money is going to come to that. You have to start thinking of an exit. You have to think of, look, we're going to take this company all the way. And really, in terms of exit planning, I don't think you have to plan an exit. They happen naturally. If you are doing a lifestyle small business, there's almost no exit or very small exit. And that's why investors don't like them. So of course, you don't think of an exit then. If you're doing a totally scalable business that grows really fast, you shouldn't be thinking of your exit because there's just two natural exits. Like, there's either you get acquired or you go public, or the third exit, which nobody wants, you go bankrupt. But in those businesses, when you are running those businesses, you should be focused on how do I provide the most value to my customer. If you do that, everything else falls in place. The exits fall in place. You don't need to plan them out, because as long as you are focused on being the best you can be to your customer and grabbing market share, there's going to be an exit.
Well, I agree fully with you on that. I was more thinking in terms of, if you are the founder, like, how do you exit yourself from within the business so that when the acquisition or the merger or something really comes, you aren't seen as the most important person in the business and they don't lock you in, so that you can really walk away because you have succession planning and so on. So in those terms, you should start thinking before actual offers start coming your way, because if you don't, if you are too important, you will get locked in.
Also, you're right. You need to plan for your exit in advance. And some of that is knowing what you want. Like, do you want to stick with the company that acquires you for another 4 or 5, 10 years? Is that something you would want to do? And some people do. They stick with it. Or do you want to move on to something else? So if you think about this beforehand, you can position the acquisition in the way you want. Everything's up for negotiation. If somebody wants to acquire you, they will compromise. And in any business that is well run, any business, nobody is indispensable, because the business itself, you have built a system. You haven't built a cult, a personality cult. A lot of times somebody like Elon Musk and stuff and Steve Jobs will become a personality cult. But honestly, Apple, has been doing fine post Steve Jobs, because he built an organization, a system, even though everybody thought it was him. Tim Cook is doing fine, and somebody else would have done fine as long as they were competent, because of what the groundwork, the foundation that Apple laid. So the best way is if you don't want to stick with that business, you have to first lay a very solid foundation, have a team that can run, a team that really experienced managers that can make decisions without you. And then you need to tell who's ever acquiring you, this is the case. Like, these guys, I built this system, I built this foundation, there's processes in place. I can add value to this, but somebody else can add value too. You don't need me. And then you negotiate it into your acquisition terms, your exit.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Stephen, I still have two questions, and we're already around 30 minutes. But when you're the fail coach, things need to fail. So I never finish within 30 minutes with an interview, especially not when I have somebody as interesting as you as a guest, where we can just talk and talk and talk. But the first question is, if somebody wants to reach out to you, so who should reach out to you, and what's the best way to reach out to you? Or is it go buy your book and get to know you through that, or listen to your podcast, or what's the best way to become part of your ecosystem?
Oh, I love it when people reach out to me. So if you have a business plan, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have a business opportunity, you want to reach out to us, just go to foundersspace.com. Foundersspace.com. You can find my podcast. Miha's been on my podcast. A lot of amazing people have been on there. You can find my books. Everything is there. We have lots of videos and other stuff. And you can also contact me from Founder Space. Put my name in there on the contact form. It will get to me. I'm also on every social network. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it, I'm there. Search for Founder Space, search for Steve Hoffman. LinkedIn is a really good one if you want to reach out and talk to me.
Stephen, when it comes to startups, are you more interested in people who are in the early stage, or are you more interested in later stages to work with them?
I love early stage startups because that's where it's
Okay.
exciting. That's where you're figuring everything out. By the later stage, they're great investment opportunities because they are cooking, but they've usually done the hard work by then. So it's early stage.
Okay, perfect. Well, Steve, my last question is always, I'm chatty, and this is more like a chatty interview. So if I forgot something to ask you something, and you feel it's super important to share with the audience, the stage is yours. So the golden nugget of wisdom.
Okay, the golden nugget. And you are the fail coach. So the thing you forgot to ask me is, when do you know you've failed? When should you quit this amazing thing that you're doing because it's not working? So I have entrepreneurs come up to me all the time, and they, my nickname's Captain Hoff, and they're like, Captain, should I stop doing this? I've been working on it 5 years, and we're having trouble, this, that. And you know what I tell them? Because I'm there to help them. I tell them, when they ask me if they should quit, I usually say, absolutely, quit right now, quit today. Just stop doing whatever you're doing. Now, why am I doing this? I'm not doing it to be mean to them. I'm actually doing it because they already know the answer. Nobody wants to fail. If they are coming to me and asking for my permission to fail, they can see the writing on the wall. They just don't want to accept it. They see that their thing isn't working. So I tell you, if you feel at any point in your business like you're Sisyphus, rolling that boulder up the mountain only to have it roll back down again, and you have to push it up the mountain again. If that is your business and you have your product or service launched, you have customers, but things aren't taking off, honestly, quit. Great entrepreneurs quit all the time, and they try new things. So if it isn't working, if the core isn't working, the core value you're offering your customer isn't working, you need to try something else. You can never, all the window dressing, all the extra features, all the little tweaks don't matter. They will not change it.
Well, Steven, yes, I am the fail coach, and yes, I didn't ask you that. So that means that you were the better fail coach in this episode. So kudos to that. Well, you had your fair share of ups and downs. I had mine. So, we could both be fail coaches or success coaches or everything in between with the things that we've gone through during our lifetime. Well, Steven, thank you so much. I have a feeling that this was not the last time you were on this LinkedIn Live. I do have a feeling that I will invite you back for a few more times because we have just so much to cover more and talk about. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you for who you are and what you bring to the world. And I wish you nothing but all the best on your journey. And
Miha,
to be
this has been wonderful. I love talking to you. Thank you for having me.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, everybody. So this was Captain Hoff. And so if this episode touched you in any way, because maybe you're early stage startup or you're going through certain things, and you heard something from Steven and you said, oh wow, like I need to explore this more, go ahead, reach out to him. He's just the most wonderful person to talk to, and he loves talking to people, he loves meeting people, he's very open, and just brings so much value to the table, even if you jump just on a quick call with him. So I strongly suggest, if you are in that startup space, if you feel that you need to talk to somebody, reach out to Steven, and just say hi from me when you reach out to him. But this is it for today. Another Monday is interview is done. Next week we're back with another interview. Until then, I wish everybody to just have a lovely week, successful week. I hope you're healthy, you're safe with all the craziness in the world, and that everything's well on your end. See you next Monday. Bye.